To kick off with some adventurous energy, prepared to be inspired by a keynote speaker, Sheikha Asma Thani. I've had the pleasure to know and admire Sheikha Asma ever since my own journey began in Qatar many, many years ago. I've seen her flourish as a young woman with a thirst to take action and make it happen. As the Director of Marketing Communications at Qatar Olympic Committee, this career role does not define her. She's also the first Qatari woman to ski to the North Pole, rather Qatari person to ski to the North Pole, highlighting the sheer capability of women. I cannot do her justice by speaking anymore, so please welcome Sheikha Asma to the stage.
Assalamu alaikum. Good morning, everyone. I'm so honored to be around so many beautiful women. I want to introduce myself first. I'm Asma Thani. Some of you might know me as the Director of Marketing and Communications at the Qatar Olympic Committee. Some of you might know me as the first woman to ski to the North Pole from Qatar. Some of you might know me as the shorty who believes that no mountain is too high for her to climb. So I want to start talking about sports and why I love sports so much. Sports has inspired me to do so many things. I've seen athletes achieve, I've seen athletes fall, I've seen athletes try the hardest, blood, sweat, and tears to achieve their goals. And it always has inspired me as a child. I've been the captain of the football team in school for 3 years in a row. I've been playing basketball, although I was the shortest one in the team. I played netball, I played all types of sport, and I've always found that as an inspiration. I was the Director of Marketing and Communications for the Handball World Championships in Qatar in 2015. It was my first role in sports, and it pushed me in so many ways. It was very, very difficult. It was my first time to work in sports. I was passionate about it, but I knew nothing about handball. And I took that as an opportunity to learn, to push myself. I would reach home at 1, 2, 3 a.m. in the morning, find the doors locked to the house, and I still continued to achieve the goals and to make this championship the best ever. Why do I love sports? Sports has the power to transform lives. I've seen athletes, again, fall. I've seen athletes cry as they've become second place. And I've seen athletes that were inspired by their journeys when they came to Qatar. As you see in the photo, this was one of my most inspirational moments, to be honest. This is a runner from the US team. They are Paralympic runners. One is a guide, and one is completely blind. And what happens is that they run together, hand by hand, connected, and they achieve greatness. They run as fast as Olympic athletes, able Olympic athletes. What I learned from these athletes is trust. Trust in your team members, trust in the people around you to help you achieve greatness. There is a quote that always resonated whenever I see these moments, and it's from Nelson Mandela. Some of you might know it, but let me repeat it again. Sport has the power to change the world. It has the power to inspire, the power to unite people in a way that little else does. It speaks to a youth in a language they understand. Sports can create hope where there was only despair. It is more powerful than governments in breaking down racial barriers. It laughs in the face of all types of discrimination. And that is one of the things that kept on going in my mind as I worked in the Qatar Olympic Committee. When I was young, I wrote a bucket list. I was 14 years old, I think, and I wrote many, many things, simple things like, when I grow up, I want to drive a car. I want to graduate university. I want to have a master's. I want to climb a mountain. And that bucket list was lost in all the papers in my room. And a couple of years ago, I was cleaning out these papers, And I found that bucket list. And in that bucket list, I just sat down and I was so overwhelmed that as I started to read, I crossed out the things that I've already achieved for the little Asma that sat there when she was 14 years old. One of the things that I saw was climb a mountain. And at that time, I remember I was very stressed. I was working in a high demanding job, like I said, in 2015. And I took that as an opportunity to get stronger, to get healthier, and to push myself forward to achieve such a challenge. I remember I went to my mom and dad and I said, I want to climb Mount Kilimanjaro. And they just looked at me like, really, Asma, do you really want to do this right now? You are doing so much, you are so stressed at work. And I looked at them and I'm like, I can do this. And I trained. I remember I would wake up at 6 a.m. in the morning, actually 5, to train at 6, to be ready to go to the office at 8, every single day. And in 2013, I became one of the first Qatari women to climb Mount Kilimanjaro, raising money to build schools in Palestine. Then, another challenge came on board. So down that list was as well, go to the North Pole. And I find this message on Facebook, and it said, women who want to achieve a challenge, who want to fight expectations, who want to achieve something and break down barriers, sign up and let's see how you can go. And the North Pole expedition is an expedition that brought women from the Middle East, from Europe, together to achieve a goal that nobody thought was possible. Many of us from the Middle East, to be honest, were the first women from their country to achieve that goal. For some of you who don't know where the North Pole is, it's at the top of the world. It's shifting ice packs that move every night. And we did the 100-kilometer ski. Again, as I said, we were women from Europe and the Middle East who achieved this challenge together. Now, the main reason for this challenge was how can we bring women who have never met each other, who are from different backgrounds, different cultures, different everything, to be honest, come together and achieve one single goal. Where countries can't achieve this goal, we women were able to break down these barriers and do this together. Now, the North Pole, this picture is actually from the helicopter that dropped us at point 0, basically. And I remember as we flew in, we saw the rigid ice packs, and all of us were looking at each other in fear and saying, why did we do this? When we landed on our first day, it was minus 38 degrees. It was so cold that our eyelashes froze. I've never felt this cold before. And I was sitting there and saying, you've done this before, it's okay. Now, for the North Pole expedition, it was an unguided expedition. And an unguided expedition means there is no one there to show you the way. We had to depend on each other, one woman to another, basically. We were our, our lifelines. We actually had to trust the woman in front of us and the woman behind us to remind us if our face felt too cold or if we can still move our fingers, because it is so cold and so tiring that you forget if you are okay or not. When we first landed, we started our ski, 2 lines behind each other and achieving this goal. Now, before the day we actually went to the North Pole, everybody was saying, you will not achieve this. All the guides that were in base camp were saying, 11 women, no guide, first time, you will be back on the first day. They all put us down. And we were like, nope, we will make this happen. And we skied behind each other 90 minutes every 90 minutes, and then 10 minutes break, 90 minutes, 10 minutes break for 7 to 8, sometimes 9 hours a day. Now, some of you would ask, why do we break only for 10 minutes? It's too cold to wait for longer. At the end of every day, we would set up our tents. As a group of women, each one of us had their role. Each one of us had to do something, and each one of us had to commit to the role that was assigned to her. So there was no chance for you to say, I'm tired, because all of us were tired. There was no chance to say, I can't do this. No, you have to do this. So putting all our fears aside and all our personal being tired and not being able to achieve this was not acceptable in such harsh conditions. 4 women would sleep in every tent. We would set up the tent. We had to do it in less than 15 minutes because we cannot be outside for longer. We would cook our food. How do we cook our food? Melt the ice to make water, and then we use that water to actually make our food. Some people would usually say it takes longer and it was very, very tiring, but that experience alone taught me that we take things for granted, and there are so many things that are precious to us. Water took me 30 minutes to do 1 liter, to melt ice for 30 minutes to do 1 liter, and we were 4 women, and we had to do 2 liters each. So you can imagine the amount of hours that we would sit just to melt the ice to make water. And it's something that is so available right now, but there it wasn't. This is a picture of me halfway through. As you can see, everything froze up, everything was tiring, everything was cold, but we always had to continue. There were times where we had to cross crevasses. It goes down very, very deep, so we had to work together as a team. We had to continue even though we were tired. We had to communicate, and communication was key. There were times when we had to cross the ice and you can see the water right beneath you, and we had to do it one by one to make sure that it does not break this time. And there were times where we stand outside and look at this beautiful view. What was so inspiring in the North Pole, and as we achieved that goal, was the North Pole didn't know who we are. It didn't know where we came from. It didn't know and didn't care that we're tired. It didn't know what we wanted to achieve. We had to go by and go every day with what the North Pole wanted us to do. So we had to submit and to continue. At the end of the day, we would gather around in our tents, tell stories, talk about our cultures, and talk about everything. Sometimes we fought, it was so tight, and sometimes we laughed. But then we continued. One of our days was so difficult that we had to take in our skis, our pulkas. Our pulkas had 30 kilograms of stuff each. So we had to pull that over the ice and sometimes had to pull that over the ridges. Some of the ridges were 2 to 3 meters high. So again, communication, working together as a team was very important. I remember on this day, it took us 6 hours to move 1 kilometer closer. 6 hours. And all of us were devastated. We were tired, we were exhausted, and we were so demotivated because of that. But of course, at 21st of April, 2018, at 7 p.m., we reached the North Pole. What was funny was, as we reached the North Pole kept moving, so each one of us claimed our own North Pole. One thing that you might not know is that we would sleep every day and wake up in a completely different place. And you had to hope that this day you go closer to the north rather than go south or east or west. Now, what did I learn from this? Why is it so important? I've learned that no challenge is too difficult. We do live busy lives. We do have a lot of responsibilities. But if we really do want something, we make time for it. If we really do want something, we achieve it. If we really do want something, we arrange our time and arrange everything to make it happen. And all of us do have that power. Now, We were women from all around the world. People said that we would not make it, but we were able to raise our country's flags in the North Pole. So my message to all of you is to work on your strengths, to participate and give input, to not be afraid to contribute and to contribute to anyone around you, to challenge yourself, make mistakes, but learn from them. No idea is too small, and no challenge is too difficult. Most importantly, through your journey, build friendships and family, and a network that will stand the test of time as you achieve your dreams. The more women inspired, the more we can achieve our goals. Lastly, I'd like to thank the organizers, the sponsors, and all of you for having me here today. As Mahatma Gandhi said, be the change you want to see in the world. Let's go out there and change the world. Thank you.